Me.
Okay.
That's me.
I, looking at the people who are here, I think everyone is probably familiar with Zoom by now, but just before we get too far into the program, I want to just say first that if you don't know how to access the captions, they're along the bottom of your screen and it says CC, and you click on that and you either get larger captions or you can get the full transcript, which are smaller captions. If you want to use stream text, which is captions on a different device so that you can actually make it larger, I think David has put the link to that in the chat, and the chat is also accessed from the bottom of the screen. We ask everybody to mute themselves while the program's going on for obvious reasons, especially in my house, dogs, you know, you never know what's going to happen. But it is also really nice if you can turn your video on because although we are not in person, it does give a slight more sense of community if you turn your video on. So you know, if you don't want to for some reason, of course you shouldn't. But otherwise, it would be really nice to see you. So Joe is going to give her presentation, and then when she's finished, she will answer questions. Um, the way to ask a question, the best way to ask a question, and the fairest way is to click on React. This is at the bottom of your screen. There's a heart, and you open it, make sure it's working today. And right at the second from the bottom, it says raise hand. And then so there'll be a little yellow hand up on the screen. And after you've asked your question, if you remember, lower your hand. But if you don't remember, it's okay because I'll figure that out anyway. Um, you can also ask questions in the chat, although sometimes that gets very confusing because people ask questions. If people ask a lot of questions, the people who have asked at the beginning tend to get drowned out by the later questions. So if you can hold on to your questions till the actual end of the program, that would be great. And I think that's all that I would say that is business. Oh, one more thing. This is this is our last meeting of December. I mean, of 2025, and it is our annual music meeting, which John Taylor always organizes, and which is partially financed by people who give donations to the chapter in his honor. John himself is a musician, as I'm sure a lot of you know. Um, Tonight, we have Joe Brook, who is a New York City-based hard of hearing actor and musician, or musician and actor. I'm not sure which would you would want to come first in your biography. You can tell us. She was diagnosed with profound hearing loss in 2017. She is going to talk about navigating the hearing challenges she's had and working with how to come to terms with who she is as an artist and how her hearing loss is part of it. She was born in Montana, and I think she'll tell us about how she ended up coming to New York. She has had a varied and successful career in New York uh, and on television, video, stage, and I think maybe in the chat we could put up a longer biography than I'm going to actually say here. David, I'll email it to you. Um, she plays both violin and guitar. She's going to play both for us. And she is the founder of the all-female bluegrass collective called the Snowy Mountain Sisters, which I'm guessing has something to do with Montana. She has, with a grant from the Center for Hearing and Communication, CHC, she founded a support group for artists who identify as deaf or hard of hearing. And she also serves on the Deaf HOH Governance Committee for Actors Equity. So that's all I'm going to say. I want to welcome Joe over to you, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Catherine. I really appreciate that introduction, and thank you, Jonathan, for organizing this and organizing my visit here tonight. I really appreciate you. Um, and right off the bat, I just want to say that I'm deeply grateful to be sharing this evening with you, and genuinely honored that you've asked me to speak. I deeply admire the extraordinary work and the services the Hearing Loss Association of America provides, expanding communication access and strengthening meaningful connections for those with hearing loss. I am honored to be a very small part of that tonight. Okay, so you've already heard a little bit about me, but I'll expound because we have time. As we spoke about before, I currently live in Astoria, but as Catherine said, I was born in Montana. I haven't always been a New Yorker. So bringing us back all the way to the beginning, I was born in Montana. I was raised on a ranch and a farm there in a little town called Judith Gap. Yes, the captions got it. And it's no more than about 200 people. So it's a very, very small, isolated area of Montana. My dad is a rancher and farmer, and my mom is a nurse practitioner. And I grew up like any ranch kid, helping out on the ranch, doing all the things that you do, helping during calving season, swathing and driving trucks for my dad during harvest, picking rock in the springtime, and getting up to all the mischief that farm kids get up to. Like I said, it was very rural. We were about 2 hours from the nearest grocery store, malls, movie theaters, hospitals, stage theaters. So really my closest friends were my siblings and my parents. And so very, very different from how we live here in New York. After I grew up, I moved to Ohio, where I attended Bowling Green State University, and I earned my Bachelor of Arts in Communications and Theater. And I graduated there in 2012. And after that, I moved to New York City to pursue a career in acting. And I've been here for the past 13 years doing just that. I've been very blessed to be able to work in theater and in music in what I think is the greatest theater town of all time. And it doesn't have a bad bluegrass scene either, so. And then even after the challenges of the pandemic and all that the entertainment industry went through during the shutdown, I've been able to make my way back into theater and music in the last few years and have been very lucky. So aside from my love for the theater, I grew up playing music with my family. Both my parents are singers and musicians, so it was only natural that all of us kids would end up being musicians as well. And I picked up the fiddle at age 5, and I really just fell in love with it very quickly. We had a fiddle that was just laying around the house, and so my parents really didn't force me to play. It just was something that was laying there, and I needed something to play with my family, so that's kind of how that happened. And then eventually my mom thought that she might get me classical lessons in the Suzuki method, and I very quickly rejected that style of learning. And I gravitated more towards playing by ear and playing traditional fiddle music. And then when I was 9, my grandmother, who is also hard of hearing, and she was a longtime elementary music teacher. She's retired now. And she's also a fiddle player as well. She got the idea to send me to the Montana Fiddle Camp to learn more about traditional music. The camp was for all ages and taught different styles of fiddling, bluegrass, Texas style, Texas swing, Irish, Cajun, the list goes on. And I went to fiddle camp for 10 years as a kid. And it was there that I discovered the beauty of community and connection that one can experience through music. And even though I came to New York to pursue theater, music has always played a huge part, whether I was playing in bands or doing studio session work or even playing a character on stage who played an instrument. My fiddle has remained an important part of my life and career. And as Catherine mentioned before, in 2015, my older sister, Brittany, and Brittany was also living in New York City at the time, and is also a musician and an actor. And we decided to start an all-female bluegrass band called the Snowy Mountain Sisters. And yes, Catherine, you are right. The Snowy Mountains are the mountain range that we grew up next to in Montana. And we've been performing with that group for the last 10 years, making music around the city and around the country. And that group has truly gifted me some of my best friendships during my time here in the city. Just gonna grab some water. And outside of performing, I also work as a theater administrator. I work at the Alliance of Resident Theaters, also called A.R.T New York. And I work as their manager of external relations. And if you've never heard of them, A.R.T New York is a nonprofit arts organization that serves the off and off Broadway theater community by providing subsidized rehearsal and performance space, regranting programs, and free professional development offerings for theater professionals. A.R.T New York also plays a major role in the arts and culture advocacy scene, typically on the front lines of city and state initiatives. And I'm very proud and feel very lucky to be part of that organization. Okay, so let's get down to business. Let's talk about hearing loss. So in 2017, I was diagnosed with profound hearing loss. I was 27 at the time. And my sister Brittany and I, we'd been playing in our band, the Snowy Mountain Sisters. And Brittany began to suspect that I wasn't hearing things so well. And it never goes well when a family member gives you honest, hard feedback, right? But like only the best older siblings, she continued to prod me for many months. And eventually, she just went ahead and scheduled a hearing test. And it was actually a free hearing test with the Center for Hearing and Communication, hosted by Actors Equity Association. And thank goodness I went, because with the test, with all the dings and the buzzes and the wires and the buttons, as we're all very familiar with, they were able to tell me that I had profound hearing loss in both my ears, and they suggested hearing aids as soon as possible. Essentially, I'm deaf in my upper ranges, and I have severe hearing loss in my mid ranges, and then my low range is great. Woohoo! So my first reaction was just shock. You know, at 27, I really couldn't believe that I had severe hearing loss, and hearing loss, any hearing loss for that matter. So it was really quite shocking. But I went through with everything. I was able to get hearing aids. Again, this was covered by my insurance through the Actors Union, so I'm very lucky. And I was set up with a great audiologist. Maybe some of you know her, Michelle DeStefano, at the Center for Hearing and Communications. She's a really great person, and she's been a great friend, a great doctor, and an advocate for me through a lot of this. So those first few years of knowing about my hearing loss, for me, were really about becoming more aware of the hearing loss and just how much I'd been missing before. You know, the sound of rain and clothing and hair brushing up against my ears, cymbals on the drum kit. I had never heard those before. Crickets. I hadn't heard crickets in a very long time. Some spoken sounds in conversation, and even some notes on my fiddle that I guess I had forgotten made a sound. And suddenly I could hear these things again, and it was really strange. And it was strange that I had never questioned not hearing those sounds before. Michelle. Oh, great. Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, Michelle is amazing. Okay, I'm just going to grab more water. So with my diagnosis and with this heightened awareness, I was seeing, I'm sure you can relate, I was seeing the world through a much different lens, and memories started to flood back to me. There were moments in my life, particularly in high school and college, when I had thought maybe I was slow or even maybe a little stupid. Like I just couldn't keep up with everyone else, or maybe I just didn't have an opinion about something. There were other memories of social situations where I would completely space out of full conversations or Irish goodbyes out of parties and not really understanding why I wanted to isolate and leave those gatherings. Another time I had gotten into an argument with a sound engineer because I swore that my fiddle was not being amplified and that no sound was coming into my in-ear monitor. It's very embarrassing looking back on that now. But I have to laugh, right? And over the next few years, I really just made do with this new knowledge. I really wasn't telling anybody about my hearing loss. I hid my hearing aids behind my hair, and I continued to work as a musician and an actor, even though my awareness of my challenges continued to heighten. But I really wasn't in any place to really start disclosing my hearing loss to employers and coworkers, and really, like, definitely not in a place to advocate for any kind of accommodations. I think it's easy in those early stages to just believe that you don't need any accommodations because you've been getting by without them for so long. And underneath all of this, I was developing this deep resentment and anger that I had lost so much of my hearing so early in life, resentment that no one around me really understood what I was experiencing, and bitterness that I had been gaslit for so long and hadn't really understood how much I had been compensating. I also became more aware of the sounds that the hearing aids couldn't bring back, sounds that I never would hear. Suddenly, sounds that I never missed before left me feeling heartbroken that I would likely never experience them. Excuse me. All right, and then boom, the pandemic. Oh boy. Okay, so the pandemic was hard for so many reasons for everyone, but I have to say masks were just so challenging. And I know many of you can empathize. I see heads nodding. Isolation and lockdown were so hard. And then to further be isolated and unable to see faces and mouths, it was just a lot. But overall, lockdown gave many of us a lot of time to think, and it was a very transformative time for me, personally, artistically, professionally. And coming out of the gate after the pandemic, or I guess after lockdown, but still during that pandemic time, I knew that I wanted to address this part of myself. I knew first that I wanted to start telling people about my hearing loss. I wanted to start advocating, and I wanted to start disclosing. And two, I knew that I wanted to start addressing this anger and resentment that was roiling beneath the surface of this very sweet face. But there was a lot of anger there. And I just didn't want to go on despising this part of myself anymore. I wanted to begin embracing it somehow. So I knew those things, but I just didn't know how to do them yet. And I think we all know that the ride to learning how to advocate for yourself and learning to love those challenging parts of yourself, even if you're not born with it or brought up with it, like it's a bumpy ride. Or sorry, even if you are born with it or brought up with it, it's a very bumpy ride. It's messy. And I have to say, I also, looking back, didn't really have an example or a role model at the time. I didn't have my current support system. I didn't have HLAA. I didn't have anybody. And I didn't personally know any actors or musicians who had hearing loss at my level of severity. So I really did feel like I was forging the path alone for a time there. So during this bumpy ride, I experienced feelings of loneliness and helplessness and a lot of self-pity. And I became very depressed, and since have sought lots of medical support for that. And I still struggle with my depression. I also had a lot of interpersonal issues, some very challenging moments at work and with friends. And looking back, I think those moments were fueled by my need to feel understood and seen in my hearing loss, but it just existed in this weird gray area between my lack of tools to express myself and then basically the inability of a hearing person to understand and meet me where I was. I'm sure some of you can understand that. But little by little, over the years, I have found healing moments. I have found my community, and I have found ways to express myself and advocate for my needs. So I'm just going to give you some of the highlights of those healing moments over the years. In the summer of 2021, I did my first show back since the beginning of the pandemic at the Denver Center. And that was the first time I decided to tell an employer about my hearing loss. And I began asking for accommodations, which included asking for clear masks at rehearsal, asking people to face me when they speak, and asking the director to make small changes to blocking so that I could see people's hands when we were playing musical instruments. I think when I was asking for those accommodations, they were very small, but they felt gigantic because it was the first time I was asking for anything. In the spring of 2022, I booked my very first theater role playing a hard of hearing character. It was a beautiful play called Silent Sky by the playwright Lauren Gunderson. It's a great read. If you like reading theater, I recommend that play. And it's based on the true story of a woman named Henrietta Leavitt. She was a Harvard computer and astronomer who, through her findings, revolutionized the measurement of astronomical distances and expanded our understanding of the universe. And Henrietta Leavitt also happened to be hard of hearing, and she wore hearing aids. And Henrietta, although only a character out of a play, truly was my first hard of hearing friend. And playing that role inspired me to continue in my work, despite the challenges, and I started to think of my hearing loss as perhaps just one more interesting part of what makes me Jo. Okay, so next highlight. Later that same year, I started learning American Sign Language, again at the behest of my older sister, Brittany. She's just so pushy. So we started off slowly learning from an app, and Britt and I would sign together over FaceTime once a week. And eventually my husband, Austin, started learning sign language. And at first it felt very excessive. I was like, I do not need this. I can hear, I can get by, I don't need this. But over time, I have grown to really love using ASL, and I've really integrated it into my life more. And now my husband and I, we sign in loud bars and restaurants and on the subways and even at home sometimes. And it really helps take the pressure off of my listening energy. So I really appreciate the language. Okay, the next year, encouraged by one of my acting teachers, I worked up the gumption to ask American Theater Magazine if I could write an article about my experience being an actor and musician with hearing loss. And I think you'll get a kick out of this. At first, American Theater Magazine declined because they said that they already had enough articles talking about the deaf experience and perspective. And I replied to their email and clarified that I am not culturally deaf. I am hard of hearing, or lowercase d deaf, and that's a different experience. And then they replied, and they then agreed to publish something that I would eventually write. And at first, I planned to write about my own experience. And then as I was writing, that started to feel very scary and very personal. So then I decided to try to seek out other actors with hearing loss and meld their stories into the article. And, you know, as I said before, I really didn't know anybody, but I just started Googling. And after going down that rabbit hole and connecting with a dozen different actors with hearing loss or people identifying as deaf, as culturally deaf, the article just came alive and shaped into something that I didn't expect. And ultimately, I was rewarded with a new perspective, a widened perspective on what my relationship to hearing loss could potentially be and how it could inform who I am as an artist. And then after finding all these wonderful new friends through the article, I didn't want to lose connection. So in the summer of 2023, with the grant and staffing support from the Center for Hearing and Communications, we founded a support group for artists with hearing loss, or those who identify as deaf or hard of hearing, And genuinely, the people in this group have become some of my best friends. They are my community, they are my sounding board, and they truly are the only ones in the world who really understand me and see me fully as the artist as I am. And I think I'm just slightly emotional because I just came from a meeting with them. So it's just we're doing a lot tonight. All right. And then in 2024, I booked my very first role on TV, which also happened to be my very first role playing a deaf signing individual. It was a spot on the Hulu ABC series, What Would You Do? I'm sure some of you have heard of it. If you don't know the show, it's one of those hidden camera shows where they basically set up a moment where bystanders are presented with this unethical situation, and it's manufactured by the show using undercover actors. So I got to be an undercover actor. It was a blast. It's really, really fun for the actors and the TV show, and it's terribly cruel for the bystanders. But I had a really good time, and I was very proud to be using ASL for the first time professionally. So those are just some of the highlights, the little stepping stones to healing and to better understanding my hearing loss. But I would say it really wasn't until I found my people, my community, that I began to think differently about it. I began to grow confident in my ability to advocate for myself and disclose my disability. I started to address the anger and the resentment that I was harboring. And I began to try to honor my hearing loss as a good part of myself, not something that was wrong or broken or pitiful, but something that could bring beauty and opportunity to my life. So to sum it all up, I've been through such a wild process with my hearing loss, real transformation and shifts of perspective. I have learned a lot about hearing loss as just a medical thing. I have learned a lot about disability, even on disability on a legal level. And I have learned a lot about deaf culture. And I learned a new language. I still have good days and bad days. Days where I'm really proud of where I am with my hearing loss. Proud to call myself hard of hearing or even deaf sometimes. And other days when I'm just pissed off. I'm just mad. I'm mad at ableism, and I'm mad at my body. And days when I really struggle with isolating and feeling down. I still feel like I'm on a crash course for navigating hearing loss, and I don't think that's ever going to change. But moving forward, I try hard to trust my own experience and trust that what I'm experiencing is okay and it's what I'm experiencing, and to trust my own voice. I try to lean into my community as much as possible and remember that I am absolutely not alone. I try to forgive myself when I fumble in my communication or get defensive when I'm experiencing a lack of understanding from others. And I still dabble in all of the different labels around hearing loss. What am I? Am I hard of hearing? Am I deaf? Am I late-deafened? Maybe it's just a phrase. My hearing isn't so good, or you'll have to speak a little louder. I wear hearing aids. And so over the years, I really have come to terms with the fact that all those different labels used to express a hearing loss or hearing difference can be used by me and anybody with a hearing loss really at any time. And we don't need to apologize for that. I really am some kind of in-betweener, somewhere between hearing and hard of hearing and deaf, somewhere between using my words and my hands to speak, and somewhere between the quiet and the music. And so that's a great touch point for me to play a little bit of music for you. Should we pause? Is everybody doing okay? Yeah? Okay. All right.
I think it's fine to go ahead. This has been just beautiful. It's very moving. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to hop on my guitar for a second. And I'm going to play you a song that I wrote called Backfloat. I wrote this song. I feel like I write all my best songs when I'm not sitting with an instrument, which is very odd. But I wrote this song one day when I was up in New Hampshire doing the show that I mentioned before, Silent Sky. And one day, it was one of our days off from the theater, and all the actors decided to go floating on inner tubes on the river. And that day was just like, it was a beautiful experience, being on the river with friends, experiencing nature after being, Karen, I don't have a cochlear implant. I just wear hearing aids, but yeah. You know, we had been in the dark of the theater for much too long, and they released us. And so we went floating on the river on inner tubes. And I don't know what it was about that moment. Maybe it was the subtle art of back floating that got my artistic wheels turning. But half of my body was in the water and half of me was out. And I was just kind of maintaining that float with the breath. And I was looking up ahead at the trees and the birds. And I was filled with peace and gratitude to be in that moment in the world, to be with those people, to be doing that show, and to be playing a hard of hearing person on stage, and to have my new fictional friend. And this space, and to have this space to do some healing and introspection about my hearing loss. So as I was back floating, these lyrics started spilling out. And this song is about existing somewhere in between two places, not hearing, not deaf, but that liminal space between the two. And how that liminal space can be a difficult space to exist in sometimes, but it can also be beautiful and full, and maybe even bring some peace. All right. Way to the bottom of the river, lay back, let it carry you. can float, I can breathe, I can learn how to be between, oh, I can float, I can breathe, I can learn how to be between, oh, blue sky overhead, birds fly, birds sing, mouths move, oh, I guess, at the sound, ooh, if I could wish it back, would I trade out this view? Oh, the waves all have their say, go your merry way, go your merry way. I can float, I can breathe, I can learn how to be between, oh, I can float, I can breathe, I can learn how to be between. I can float, I can breathe, I can learn how to be. I can float, I can breathe between. Thank you so much. And I'm just looking at the time, so I'm just, maybe I'll skip ahead just a little bit. Okay, I'll grab my fiddle. Okay. All right, so the next one is a fiddle tune that I wrote. It's called California. I wrote it, it was funny, I had kind of a tough experience doing a show out there with my hearing. It was just a tough situation for getting accommodations. And when I came back, I wanted to write a sad song. You can come in, it's okay. My husband was peeking his head around the corner. When I came back from California, I wanted to write a sad song, and instead this very happy fiddle tune came out on the fiddle, and that's okay. But the fun thing is I'm going to use a sound looper. So I have a little pedal down here that you can't see, but basically I use my foot to press buttons, and then I can record over myself, which is very fun. So I hope you'll be able to hear it. And then the other fun thing about this song is I wrote it in an alternate tuning. So the fiddle is usually tuned as E, A, D, G. But I tuned it differently, so it's E, A, E, A. So I know that those are nerdy facts, but I thought maybe you'd be interested. All right. All right, here we go. Thank you so much. And my looper, it never worked, so, so you never heard that part of it. But that's okay. Oh, Austin? Yeah. You good? Mm-hmm. Okay, Austin's gonna jump in for one more tune, and then we'll be done. All right, you want to sit over here?
Sure.
Okay. And we've got a pick here.
Sure.
Everybody, this is my husband, Austin. And he's the person from Nashville that we mentioned earlier. So. Oh yeah.
Capo or what? Frat mile?
Capo 2. All right, and I just have to retune my fiddle real quick. A real G. Okay. We'll turn this down a little bit. Turn you down a lot. All right. Okay, so this tune is actually a pop song that I did not write. It was written by the pop artist who is now deceased, sadly, but Avicii. And I really, really like the lyrics to this song. The song is called Wake Me Up. And I think it speaks to just about anybody. didn't know I was lost. Yay, good job. All right. Thank you so much, Austin.
Of course, of course.
All right. Just to finish off, thank you again for having me. I really feel honored to be able to share with all of you, and oddly emotional to be here with you tonight. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. I have experienced a range of emotions at this meeting that I don't think I've ever seen in one place before. It was just really a fantastic talk. Thank you so much, and thank you for your music. And somebody just offered you an invitation to come play at the Judson Memorial Church, so you should let us know if you do, and we'll all come. It was in the chat. So I'm going to turn to questions, and John Taylor's going to start. This was just, I think everybody, go ahead, went tapping our feet and tears in our eyes, and you can't really do better than that. So thank you. Okay, John.
Well, thank you, Joe. That was very moving, and thank you for sharing so much of yourself, not just your music, but yourself. Before I get to my question, multi-part question, I'd also like to thank Myra Schreibman. I organized this, but Myra was the one that told me about you and suggested that we contact you, so she deserves a lot of credit. So, and I actually have some nerdy questions about your pitch perception. How do you perceive pitch well? Is your hearing loss progressive? And how do you deal with those challenges? And also just the challenges professionally. I assume that you must be taking auditions. Do you meet with a lot of skepticism? So, that's a whole lot of questions all at once, but thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's a really understanding question. My hearing loss has been getting worse, but very, very little by little. So I'm hanging on really well. I feel like my pitch perception is really good when there's like one or two or three sounds, and then when it's really challenging for me to play in loud amplified situations, and it's difficult for me to play when there's like more than 3 or 4 sounds happening, because then things do start to get really washed together, and my pitches do start to bend. And the other thing is, the fiddle is such a high-pitched instrument that if you add it to literally any other sound, it just goes away. So luckily, I've been playing by ear my whole life, so I know my way around the fiddle really well, and I can play pretty much not blindly. I can play deftly, I guess, but and I think like it's a challenging thing, because I really have to trust myself, and also I just have to let it go that I may be sounding bad. There are totally times when I've realized I was playing in the complete wrong key at a bluegrass gig, and I just have to accept that that's going to happen sometimes. And then in terms of like navigating the industry, in terms of my music, I really do well doing studio work. I hear really clearly, and I can have the sound engineer give me everything that I need. So I really love doing studio work still. In terms of other musician gigs, I'm very choosy about what I pick. Like I said, very amplified gigs are just really not fun for me. So I've had to kind of give that up. And actually, the great thing about that is there was a time in my life where music was really like, it was very professional for me, and I was making good money doing music. But then as it got harder with my hearing loss, it's kind of taken a back seat professionally. And now I'm really just playing music for fun and when I want to. And I'm taking the gigs that I want to take. So in a way, it's actually made music more fun and kind of brought it back to being a passion again. And then in terms of theater, I would say the actors union has been a saving grace for me. They have been a resource that I can lean on for support and for legal support as well, because I mean, like in any industry, there's just a lot of misunderstanding and there's a lot of discrimination that I have to navigate, and a lot of just educating people about, what a hard of hearing or a deaf person can do. I think they really put you inside of a box. But I have disclosed my hearing loss professionally, and so that has been an up and down thing. It has it has brought on a lot of challenges and probably honestly shut me out of a lot of jobs just because people don't understand. But it's also brought me some jobs, as I shared before. So I think it's just a trade-off. You have to accept that some people are not going to be great to work with, and some people are not going to even want to work with me because they're going to think that I can't. But then you're also going to get into get other opportunities where you're going to work with people who are like you, or people who want you to use your sign, or people who want you to play a hard of hearing character. So, it's a give and take. Thank you. I guess Karen.
Yeah, Al Chen.
Oh, Al Chen. Okay.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Let's see, unmute. Oh, okay. Hi, Joe. Thank you for your presentation. I've empathized with you so much on your journey and totally commend you for everything you've accomplished. It was amazing, amazing. So congratulations. That's awesome. Um, wanted to ask you advice. I have a profound hearing loss as well, so I get be considered deaf. And next month, I'm going to start performing at an open mic for some of the songs that I've written. And we already had two rehearsals. And one of the things we learned, or at least that I learned, is that I have no idea how to keep a beat. So when I'm singing, I speed off the music, I go off track, I slow down. And ultimately, we discovered the best thing for me is a visual metronome, almost like the producer clapping the beat for me to follow. So I was wondering if you had any advice or suggestions on what could be done in other ways or other tricks where I could stay on beat with the song, because that's what I'm struggling with.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I really relate to that. So like when I record audition videos, oftentimes if it's a singing audition, they will send a track that I have to sing to, but I can't make the track loud enough for me to hear. There's nothing in my house that could make the track loud enough. So there are a couple different things that I have done. I have gotten someone to conduct for me, or I like your idea of clapping. I could see if you wanted to try to conceal it, which I don't see why you need to, but you could have someone just tap your back while you sing. And then, yes, my loop pedal, once I input a rhythm, it flashes the rhythm back at me.
Mm.
So I have found that the loop pedal is not just a fun toy, it's actually something that really helps me. Um, and then when I'm in the audition room, I don't know, Al, if you have access to like uh, the actual reverberations. Like, can you touch the instruments?
No, it's basically I'm just going to be on an open mic performing in front of an audience, and then the track music is going to be running. I can't hear anything. It's just noise to me. So then the producer figured out, she's just going to stand in front of me and clap, or maybe take a tambourine and tap it, something visual to so I don't get off the beat. Yeah, so we were just looking for ideas on how to stay on the beat. That's all. I appreciate
Oh
it.
my gosh. Yeah, with a track, that is the hardest thing because there's just nothing, there's nothing to hold on to. So I completely empathize with you. But yeah, I would just get someone to conduct. I mean, conducting is so beautiful. Or I love your ideas to do the tambourine or a clap, or even this is excessive, but getting a live musician to accompany you. Uh, and then I just, when I'm in the audition room, I just put my hand right on the piano. Uh, and I don't even hide it.
All right,
I break a
thank
leg.
you.
That's really exciting.
Karen Aronson.
Thanks for your very interesting talk and congratulations on all that you've done. Um, I'm not a performer. My husband and I have tickets to chamber music and to the Philharmonic, but and I'm not sophisticated enough to have a sense of how much I've lost in terms of, listening. And a few months ago, I can't remember the piece or the composer. At some point, I realized I was hearing nothing, but they were still playing. It was very soft. And um, do you have do you what's your perception of your hearing when you're listening to music?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and I know that feeling of like it's a very strange feeling to see an instrument playing and there's no sound. It's really spooky. It happens to me sometimes when I'm even playing my fiddle. There's just no sound, and that can feel really weird. Um, but I think something that um, I think a couple things. This might be kind of an abstract answer, Karen, but like I guess I try to think of each instrument kind of having its own personality. And obviously each instrument has its own range and in terms of the frequencies that it sits in. Um, but when I can't hear it, I will try to imagine music and I will try to imagine what it's doing. Sometimes I even um, will just feel like the vibrations, and I'll let myself off the hook and say like it's okay. You can't hear that, but just be okay with what you do have, like what your senses are bringing in right now, and just kind of try to find peace with that. It's really hard, but when you know you're missing something, that might be important. But like, just try to find peace with what's coming in, sense wise.
Yeah.
And then and I think like music is so much in our imaginations. So I think there's a lot of freedom to be had if you don't hear the music.
I hear a lot of it at this point, but I mean, I don't know whether down the road I'll hear less and less, but we'll see. But I go with my husband and he hears it all, so we keep buying tickets.
Wow.
I'd like to follow up on Karen's question. So Joe and just other musicians who are here in the audience, do you find that you can hear the music better if you can see the music being played? Can you just listen to music and figure out what's going on, or do you need a visual component?
Um, I think if it's live music, I have a better chance of understanding it. Kind of like as I said before, because the the um the vibrations are there, and so I'm able to feel it a little bit more. But like with recorded music, I have a really hard time with recorded music because it's processed sounds. It's all processed into one thing. And so all those layers you're trying to sift through, but I'm not even sure what I'm not hearing, or sometimes I don't even know if what I'm hearing, like what instrument it is. Um, so I'm sorry, Catherine, I'm
Yeah.
not sure I answered the
No,
question.
it's a very tricky
That
thing. I think listening to you, if I had not been watching that you were playing the fiddle and then that you were playing guitar, I might not have known at all what you were playing. But since we're watching, I know this what a fiddle sounds like, and it allowed me to actually hear the music in a way that I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean I definitely when I'm playing with other people, uh I mean that's why bluegrass is such a great genre for
Yeah.
me, because it really is like we're not playing any big old stages and like big arenas. We're playing small spaces, and we're generally playing around one mic. And so we're together here. So
Yeah.
I can see everybody and I can see exactly what their hands are doing. So that's a very good genre for me. When I it does get very tricky for me when I'm on the stage, because when you're acting, you're not, your character isn't really hearing the music, right? They're not,
Yeah.
it's not real. And so that that's not always actually doable for me. But so I do relate to that, like seeing the instrument and what the person's hands are doing tells me so much.
Right. John, would you like to ask another question?
Just trying to type something to Karen. I don't know if she's still there, but a couple of comments on some of these things. That Karen, if you have a telecoil and you're at the Philharmonic, they have a hearing loop, so you can activate the hearing loop. It's not perfect, but it may improve things for you.
it's
Um,
never worked for me. What can I tell you?
okay.
Hmm.
I
And as for Joe's comment about recorded music, I've had that same experience, and many years ago, I went to a famous audiologist at Hopkins, Charles Lim. He's no longer there, but and I posed that question to him, and his answer to me was that when music is digitized, it's they don't have all the information there. The files would simply be too big to be on recordings, and so that some of the information is dropped, and he said the information that was dropped was the part I could actually hear. But so live music, you're getting everything, or if you're listening to analog recordings, you're getting everything. If it's digitized, it's not all there. So those are, my comments on that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you both. I gotta run, but this was great.
Dana,
Hi, yes. My name's Dana. I spoke to you before. I just want to say I love the fiddling. It's wonderful. Um, right, I, with a hearing loss, also like folk and bluegrass music. Up where my mother lived, upstate New York, we have the Falcon Ridge Bluegrass Festival. used to play on farms up there, but I think it had to move to Massachusetts. I'm not sure if it's in Columbia County now, but that's a great place to go. So I'm just wondering, what are some places you play so we can hear you play more? And the other thing I wanted to just say is your story. I know I empathize. Growing up is so hard. You know, no one, not everyone. I mean, at whatever level you get your hearing loss, whether you know you're born with it or you get it later, you still have to deal with, you know, your teenage years and younger years, trying to get a career together and find out where you're going to fit in with a hearing loss and how to work with it at work and whether to disclose or not disclose. I mean, I've had some disasters disclosing, but I feel comfortable disclosing because people know what I have. So there's that trade-off. But that's all I got to say. I just want to know where you're going to be playing next.
Yeah, that's a really good reflection. I feel like you said things that I was trying to say really, really well. Thanks, Dana. Well, let's see. Where I'm playing next, I actually don't have a gig on the books right now, but I play a lot in Queens. There are some venues here that I've been playing out for a very long time. There's a restaurant across the street from my apartment that I've been playing at since I moved to the city. It's called Sweet Afton.
Sweet Afton.
And I can absolutely pass along information when I'm playing there. Yeah, and sometimes, maybe some of you know this place, but Mohonk Mountain House. I play up there a couple times a year, usually. And then I play a lot for theater, but I don't have anything booked right now for theater. It's been a quiet year.
I know Queens has quite a few places. Ridgewood, there's different, there was a place, someone mentioned something in Ridgewood, Queens, but I don't know the name. So I'm from Park Slope, Brooklyn, but we have Barbets in Park Slope.
Yeah, Park Slope has some really great bluegrass jams down there. And then I play sometimes at the jams around town. Those aren't shows, but there's a bluegrass jam every Monday at Mona's. Mona's is on the Lower East Side, and it's late. It goes from like 9 p.m. to like 2 or 3 in the morning. But it's a really good jam, and it's the best bluegrass musicians in the city for sure.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Mona, M-O-N-A?
Yes. Yeah, and it's free. You can go, and it's loud. It's hard. It's hard for me. So, but
Right.
it's still fun.
Great.
Joe, if you let us know when you're going to be appearing someplace, we can put it on our Facebook page and let people know.
I will. Thank you so much.
Okay. Neil Steiger has a question.
Yes, I'm especially indebted to Catherine. It was her book that, as I started to lose my hearing loss, that it quickly got me over whatever small hump I had as far as self proclaiming my difficulties, and she introduced me to technologies and HLAA and a whole bunch of other things too. So thank you, Catherine. And Joe, when you mentioned Mohonk Mountain House, it took me back to many years ago when I was a graduate student at SUNY New Paltz, and I joined an early music group long before I lost my hearing, and we played at Lake Mohonk. It was one of our gigs, and but the beauty was the violin was my first instrument, and that's where I learned to sight read. and this ties back to Catherine asked the question about, does it help to see movement? Does it help to see? And to me, I'm working a lot with my senses right now. I have a music teacher here in Nashville who works a lot with vibration. And you mentioned touching the piano. All of the senses are gateways. For me, reading sheet music, I started to learn music that I had never heard before, and fell in love with the Ukrainian national anthem and a few other things that as well as just my music memory from many, many years ago that started to resurface. So I love watching movement. I love watching people who are performing. I loved watching your playing. It was a total experience to do that, and I'm working more with people. Well, of course, Mandy Harvey, who uses vibration to help her to be able to sing. Somebody who's totally deaf, and somehow has improved her pitch. I'm still working on pitch, and I just finally I just want to say thank you so much for your music and for your story and your honesty about the difficulties, because people don't often won't always share that, and I think it is so important. It made me realize how much I have downplayed, I think, some of the more depressing moments associated with my hearing loss that really just began about 8 years ago, and so I'm bilaterally implanted from about 5 years ago, and I just I enjoy music very much, and sorry, that's about 1/10 of my total vocabulary, but I'm getting good at finger spelling. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, Mohonk, that experience playing at Mohonk it's like nothing else, right? It's so beautiful.
Are those Mohawk concerts open to the public, or is it like a workshop, or?
Yeah, they are open to the public. I'm trying to think. I think basically you have to like call ahead because it's like a gate. You know how they have the gate there, and but if you just tell them that you're going to the concert, but they have the Festival of the Arts every summer, and I usually am part of that, and I do have friends come up from the city to watch, and you don't have to be spending the night there. So it's I know we all know it's very expensive.
Yeah. Dana, did you have another question? Or is your hand just up still?
You, David? No, my
I'll
hand's not.
lower my hand. I don't know how to lower it.
Oh, okay.
Dana, sorry.
Sorry. But I just want to mention the Falcon Ridge Folk Festival. That's the weekend thing where people camp out and camp, and it's like a whole
Oh, I know where
weekend.
that is. Yeah. It's in Hillsdale, New York, I think.
Oh, cool.
Somebody asked a question in the chat that I'm going to pass on, asking about telecoils. I don't know whether if the question's addressed to you, Joe, or to John, who mentioned using the telecoil in the audience. But Joe, you could start. Do you have a telecoil, and do you use it when you play?
You know, I have never used it when I play. I certainly use it when I go to theater performances. When I'm curious, I didn't know you could use it while I'm playing. Can you explain that to me?
My only comment about it is, and I'm not an expert on telecoils, and David may want to weigh in on this, but if there's no hearing loop, the telecoil would probably not do anything for you. Is that true, David?
I'm sure that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, I could imagine the only way I could imagine the telecoil is useful is if you're playing through a PA, and then you could set up you could and you if you have both the loop and the PA, one could set up your own monitor mix through the telecoil. It would be a bit of a fuff, but it might actually be useful.
Some of our past guests at this December meeting have talked about listening to music with the telecoil. And I mean, this is this is over the years, but it seems to me that in general, it's a negative experience. It doesn't bring in the full spectrum of the sound the way, even if your hearing is not very good. You can, I don't know, John, do you have a different experience?
Well, I mean, the telecoil, if there's a loop, is the hearing is much better than than it would be normally. But if there's no loop, it wouldn't do anything for you. And I mean, the telecoil, you stream it directly to your devices. Is the
And
what
you
makes
don't
it,
notice any distortion through the loop?
it depends on the loop. My experience, frankly, although I mentioned it in connection with the Philharmonic, my experience there was not wonderful. Other situations, I mean, I know that Joe was involved with the CHC when I've gone, for example, to their gala dinner, annually. The speech in a huge room with, lots and lots of people there is perfect when I stream it through my devices. It's,
Yeah.
you don't have any static, you don't have any outside noises. It's perfect. That's not music, but I think the telecoil, if you have a telecoil that's properly set up, is wonderful.
Yes, no, I agree. I'm just wondering about listening to music through the telecoil as opposed to speech.
Well, my guess is it would be better than not having a telecoil.
Well, we should all go to a concert and test it
But
out.
if there's no loop, or if the loop isn't properly, set up, it's not going to be very helpful, probably.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't know if this translates over to the T coil, but because my hearing loss is so sloped, my lower ranges are just like so good, and then it just drops off. Music through my hearing aids is like, it's bad. It's not good. So oftentimes I'll just take my hearing aids out because it's just better. So it's
I will
very
just
quiet, but it's better.
We're running out of time, but I will just mention we had a well-known composer a couple of years ago, Gabriella Elena Frank, who spoke to us, and she has digital hearing aids and analog hearing aids, and she uses the analog for music.
Right, that's
She
right.
finds that's better.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, we are running out of time, and this has just been a completely wonderful program. Thank you so much, Joe. I think uh, I'm going to go back and watch the recording, and I think maybe other people will too. Um, if anyone else has nothing they want to ask or add, I just want to talk a little bit about our next meeting. I don't want to jump away from this one too quickly, but um, so our next meeting is in February. We do not have a January meeting this year. And the topic is listening fatigue, which I'm sure many of you have experienced. It has become much more scientific, and one of our board members is an audiologist, and she's got bringing together a group of I think we're having more than one speaker who have studied the phenomenon of listening fatigue, especially as it relates to hearing loss. The board member, Sophie Racine, I don't think she's here tonight, but she organized that February meeting, which I think is going to be really, really interesting. So actually, I think all of our meetings are interesting. The speaker that in February is she's from Toronto, Kathleen Pachora Fuller. She's a very well-known researcher. So I hope everybody can come. Um, John or David, I forget which one, asked me if I would ask one question. Is anyone here using the captions in Spanish? No? We always provide them, but we're not quite sure that they actually get used. All right. Well, just want to thank Joe. I want to thank Myra for discovering Joe for us, and John for arranging it all, and to all of you for coming. Have a wonderful holiday season, and come back in February. So thank you. And I also want to thank Lauren Schechter, our card provider, who actually provided descriptions of the music, Joe, while you were playing. I'm not sure whether you could see that, but um, not a lot, but enough to give people a sense of what was going on. So thank you, Lauren, for that. And thank to all of you, and come back in 2026. Okay, bye.